We're going from NFC South to NFC South team, and we're going to the Carolina Panthers, who did not, at the start of the draft, have a first-round pick. But by the end of the night, and literally the end of the night, you guys made a move to jump up into the first to get your guy who's been saying they're going to pick me all season, Xavier Legette. Jonathan, how do you feel about the trade up? And then you guys made a few trades. A
lot of them.
Yeah, we made a ton of trades. I mean, CJ, we talked about it before the draft. Like, my one request was I don't want to trade up.
Yeah.
Because we don't have a lot of draft capital. Because we've already been trading. We traded a ton for Bryce Young, and we still don't have all of our picks back from that. So sitting there at 33, I was like, okay, we might even be able to trade back going into the second round, night 2, Friday night. Because there's going to be somebody sitting there on the board after the first round ends that several teams are like, oh, yeah, we want that guy. We want to go up and get him.
Yeah. 33 is a great spot to be at, especially because you got all day people thinking about who's still left on the board. We got to call Carolina.
So it would have been a lot of trade opportunities there. But we passed on those because we traded up. It gave away, I believe it was 2 5th-round picks. Let me double check that. And 33 for the 32nd pick. So we could take Xavier Legette. Let's see.
Yes. I think it was a swap. I think you guys gave up a 5th and you got a 6th back to move up one spot, I thought.
I'm pulling the trade up right now. Yes, so we sent 33 and 141 for 32 and 200. So we dropped 60 spots to move up one spot, which seems like a lot.
Yes. But you get your guy, and you get him for 5 years.
Correct. But again, going back to the Michael Penix thing, Legette is a bit of an older prospect.
Yeah.
He's already 23. Let me double check because I want to say he's around the same age as Terrace Marshall Jr., who we drafted.
His birthday is in January. His birthday is January 29th, so he just turned 23 3 months ago.
What year?
2001.
Okay. So Terrace Marshall Jr., we drafted. This will be his 4th year. We drafted him 4 years ago now. He will turn. He's also 23. He turns 24 in June. So a guy we drafted 4 years earlier than him is only like 7 months younger than him, or older than him. Sorry.
Yeah.
So a bit of an older prospect, late breakout.
Which I think one thing I think to that point though, real quick, is I think you're going to see that until probably another year or two because of the COVID and like the NIL. I think that's kind of like something I think we're going to see more guys like just taking the money and just maxing out their eligibility until they have to, and then unless you're Caleb Williams, right? Like unless you're Caleb Williams, where it's like, or like a few guys who are like, okay, yeah, I'm just going, like I know for sure I'm a first rounder, bona fide.
Scrub.
Yeah, but I mean, he wasn't seen as probably even like a draftable prospect until this year.
Oh, for sure. He had a crazy
on the map this year.
Yeah, because everyone was looking at Juice Wells.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Jaheim Bell when he was there as well. Marshawn Lloyd.
What a fall for Jaheim Bell. Like I didn't expect him to go in the 7th round.
Oh, what a fall for A.D. Mitchell.
Yeah.
We'll get to those later. But so I like Xavier Legette. I don't love the pick. I don't love trading up, but I'm not necessarily mad at it. I know there was a lot of Panthers fans who wanted us to double dip and get another wide receiver later in the draft. But like I said, with on the pre-draft show with CJ, with Canales being a wide receiver-minded head coach, like he came up with the Seahawks coach of wide receivers, I think he's going to try to coach up the young wide receivers we drafted the last couple of years, because we drafted 2 wide receivers in the second round, and Terrace Marshall Jr. and Jonathan Mingo. So I feel like instead of trying to just double dip and turn over that whole room in 1 year, he's going to try to coach up the guys we have now, see what we have, and if they can't cut it, then we'll go into next year and bring some more guys in. But as of right now, Terrace Marshall Jr. is in the last year of his contract. Adam Thielen's on the last year of his contract. Deontay Johnson, last year of his contract. So the only wide receivers we have under contract for 2025 are Mingo and Xavier Legette. So just because we didn't draft a wide receiver now doesn't mean we're done. Like, obviously, with only 2 wide receivers, we're going to make some moves next year, whether that's re-signing somebody or drafting somebody, going out and signing somebody. T. Higgins. We'll see. But I'm sure the Panthers will be adding to the wide receiver room again next year. But it is important to get 2 young guys that can grow with Bryce if we want to see what Bryce can be as a franchise quarterback. And we have that now in Mingo and Leggett.
Cool. And then in the second round, you guys traded
back, and then traded up.
You got a couple trades, which is kind of wild. But I was kind of like laughing at this. Like, I feel like this is such like a thing, but like, I don't hate it. You get the best player at this position. Now hearing the news that he should be ready to go by July 1st. You guys draft Jonathan Brooks from Texas, a big back that you guys really needed, who can catch out the backfield and who could just, he's a bruiser, runs a bit high at times, which I'm not a fan of, but I mean, he's not like he's like 6'2" like Derrick Henry. I mean, he's close to it, but so how do you feel about the Jonathan Brooks trade after the rigmarole of the trading back and then trading back up for him?
Once we traded back, I was like, okay, we're cooking. We're doing what we need to do. Then we traded up, and I was like,
he gave me a lot up.
Why are we giving up assets again? Like, we gave up a third and a fourth, I believe. Or was it 2 fourths?
Well, you got a second back when you traded back. So you got a second back from you next year. So you have a second round pick back next year. And then you gave up
which was
a lot
important.
of your capital today.
Yes. Which getting the second round pick for 2025 was important because we still don't have our own 2025 second round pick because of the Bryce Young trade. So we got, I believe it's Buffalo's second round pick as part of that trade back from 39, which we got for Brian Burns. And then we traded up from that pick that we got to go get Jonathan Brooks. We gave up a lot. And then that's why we had to trade back from 65 because we had like no day 3 picks at that point. I believe we had 2 at that point. It was like 100 and 200, I believe, or 240. So then we traded back from 66, got some more picks back. And yeah, it was a whole thing. But Jonathan Brooks is a dog. I'm happy we got him. He's running back 1 in this draft class. I had a feeling we might draft him. I didn't think we would trade up for him. But the fact that we brought in him and Trey Benson for top 30 prospect visits let me know that we were much more interested in running back than people were expecting us to be.
Yeah.
And I feel like that kind of went under the radar. Like, we brought in the top 2 running backs in the class. Clearly, we're interested at looking at running backs, and it's not like later running backs. Like, no, we want the top guys. We're looking at them. Like, we want them. And we got one. We got Jonathan Brooks. I'm happy. He should be healthy, ready to go for preseason. Training camp. Yep, July. Yeah. Training camp, preseason, all that. Should be 100% by week 1, which is great. The running back room as it stands right now is Miles Sanders, who
apparently like they're still really. I heard a report that, or I think Dan Morgan said in the press conference that they're still really high on Miles Sanders.
You have to say that.
Well, you do have to say that, but
we gave him $26 million. He sucks. We would cut him, but we can't afford to. You can't say that.
I mean, you can, but it also wasn't his. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he wasn't one of your guys. right? Like Dan, like this is his team now. Like he like one of the sly things that Adam Peters said when he took over. He's like, yeah, like there's some pieces here that I could work with for sure. Like no one is like, no, like this I gotta tear down this whole fucking roster. And whether like, I mean, that was not his deal to get Miles Sanders, or maybe it was. Maybe he brought it up and they kind of passed it on. Like he wants in the new scheme to really feed Miles Sanders, hopefully a fucking receiving touchdown. But anyways,
it's too late.
Way too late for it. Still mad about
just
that.
Needed one
receiving touchdown to win the money. Crazy.
He had 17 games to do it.
Yeah. Okay. To your third round pick, where a guy in his highlight video, his hype video, the first play he makes in the backfield, he breaks a guy's leg. Talk about Dan Morgan wants that dog mentality. Trevin Wallace, inside linebacker from Kentucky, is that. I think this is definitely a Dan Morgan pick. Like this is like he put his stamp on this draft with this pick here. How'd you feel about Trevin Wallace?
We definitely needed some linebacker help. Like I said, this linebacker class wasn't great. There was only a couple linebackers I really liked. Peyton Wilson from NC State, obviously. Stud Edgerrin Cooper, who went to the Packers. Trevin Wallace was like probably in my top 5, I believe. Yeah, I think he was in my top 5 linebackers in this class. But really, like for this draft at linebacker, just look for athletes. Like, because it wasn't a great class. So just find somebody who's athletic and you can kind of mold into what you want your linebacker to be. And with Dan Morgan as GM, guy who knows a little bit about linebacker play, I'm sure that they have a plan for Trevin Wallace. He is a really good athlete. He's also an early declare, one of the youngest players in the draft, I believe. He just turned 21. So him and Brooks. Brooks actually doesn't turn 21 until like.
Yeah, he turned 21 February 22nd.
Yeah, he just turned 21. Brooks doesn't turn 21 until like preseason, I want to say.
Yeah, July 21st. So he's still 20.
Yeah. So he should be able to celebrate being cleared about 3 weeks late. He can go out and drink, but until July 21st, he legally cannot drink. He's that young.
Yeah.
So I like that. I like that even though we went with Leggett, who's a bit older in the first round, for the next couple of picks, we went more youth upside. I'm a big fan of that.
And in your fourth round pick, another young tight end, big body, kind of fell a bit further. Jatavion Sanders from Texas. With 2 players from Texas here. He just turned 21 a month ago on the 27th. So another young prospect that you can help mold and grow, which I think Jatavion Sanders with this, obviously he didn't test that great, but I think his big body nature and just the way he can catch and has like willingness to block, I think is really good for you guys. And he was one of the guys we talked about. You talked about as well to bring in because like your tight end room desperately needed help. I don't care what Dan Morgan said, like y'all needed a tight end, like a new fresh face.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying with Dan Morgan. Like, just because he says something in a press conference, like, actions speak louder than words. You can say, oh, yeah, we love our running back room. We love Miles Sanders and Chuba Hubbard. We see them both as lead backs. But then you go and trade up to take the top running back in the draft. So what do you really think about the running backs you have?
Well, we hold you to your word. Your word is your bond. So we got to hold you to it. So if you – because, I mean, there's people – there's like GMs like, you know, like John Lynch, are like very truthful about her, or you just didn't have to say anything about it. So we'll figure it out. You know what I mean? Like we'll look into it. We're evaluating the position. You know what I mean? Like, go as far as saying like, oh, we really like these guys. I don't, you know, I just think you just need to just don't say anything.
Yeah, but I mean, it might have been a little bit of
a little draft deception.
Yeah, a little draft deception. Because like I said, like we brought in Brooks and Benson for top 30 visits. And like nobody really talked about it. I felt like it flew under the radar, probably because of the way Chuba Hubbard ended the season last year, ended strong. And the fact that we've been saying, oh, yeah, we like our running back stable. Like we like the guys we have. We view them both as lead backs, yada, yada, yada. Okay, but then we got Jonathan Brooks. So how did you really feel? Because we didn't just draft Jonathan Brooks, we traded up to get him.
Yeah,
So
in the second
clearly
round.
we
A
had a
lot of
plan
love
for him.
there. Right.
You don't trade up for somebody, especially a running back, and not plan to use them. Like there's a plan in place for him. So I'm excited to see that because he is a stud. But Jatavian Sanders, yes, he did fall a bit, mostly due to his athletic testing. But I think he plays faster than that.
Yeah.
I feel like he moves much better than the way he tested, and hopefully we can get some production out of the tight end position that we haven't had since Greg Olson. Besides like the 3 games of what's his name? Oh, there's a tight end we had for like 3 games before we traded him to the Jags for CJ Henderson.
Oh, you talking about Dan Arnold?
Yeah, Dan Arnold.
The GOAT Dan Arnold. That's when everything went downhill when y'all traded Dan Arnold for fucking Henderson.
CJ Henderson. It was Dan Arnold and a 3rd round pick, I believe, for CJ Henderson.
It's crazy.
And that was the last time we had a tight end who could do anything.
Yeah.
I mean, again, we drafted a tight end, but Dan Morgan was saying we love our tight end group. We love Ian Thomas. We love Tommy Tremble. Do we know it? Because we just took another one. So, Dan Morgan wasn't the GM last year, but we brought in Hayden Hurst last year as well, and he was part of the front office that did that. So, like, we love Ian Thomas, we love Tommy Tremble. Why did we try to replace them with Hayden Hurst last year? Why are we drafting a guy now this year? Like, This is what I'm saying with the Panthers. Like, your actions and your words aren't lining up. Like,
right.
For sure.
Be honest with yourselves. Be honest with the team. Be honest with your actions.
Yeah.
So, I'm happy. I think he can help us
out. Your next pick, which was he was talking about, they're going to go heavy. We need to address the cornerback position. Shao Smith Wade from Washington State, a really good corner, which I thought he would go a little bit earlier, maybe 3rd round, possibly early 4th, but got him at 157 in the 5th. 5'10", plays not the fastest 45 4.54, but he's a willing tackler and can play some do support in the running game as well. How do you feel about addressing this need right here?
I like that we drafted a corner. To be honest, I didn't watch his film. I didn't watch a lot of film on corners this year. I was out on corners who weren't athletic or big, and he is neither. So I was like, he's off my draft board. But he wasn't off the Panthers draft board because they took him. So I need to do a little bit more work on him. But we definitely did need more bodies at corner. I know there's been a lot of rumors about us potentially signing Stephon Gilmore. I don't think a 5th round draft pick is going to change those plans. There's still a good chance we sign Stephon Gilmore, especially with his former college teammate, Jadeveon Clowney, campaigning for him to come sign with his hometown team. I would like to see that personally, especially since we gave away like a 3rd round pick for 7 games of him in 2021 because Matt Rule and Scott Fitterer are dummies.
How do you feel about not getting? I get you got Xavier Legette in the 1st round, but there was also some corners that fell that were pretty highly, rated. Kool-Aid McKinstry, Cooper DeJean, those guys. Like, how do you feel about not picking those 2 up at that pick?
Oh, I like them both. I feel like we definitely could use another corner opposite J.C. Horn, but also, like I said, if Stephon Gilmore is coming, like it makes it more tolerable. But that was my whole thing with the Panthers is we stink and we've been trading away our picks, so we don't even have enough picks to fill all our needs. Like we have way too many holes. We're not ready to compete. That's why I don't like the fact that we were trading up. Like we weren't in a position to do that. So while yes, we do need another corner, and it would have been nice to have guys like that, I'm not mad at us getting a wide receiver because we also needed a wide receiver. We also needed an edge rusher, which we didn't really address. I think we took one in like the 6th round.
It depends. You got a defensive tackle, Jaden Crumdy. from Mississippi State, a 6'4" defensive tackle, could play inside and out. A solid depth piece there once you get to the 6th round. Which would be interesting. And you guys get linebacker from Michigan, Michael Barrett. 5'11", 233. Probably going to be a special teams guy to start. Besides linebacker. But who knows? So you guys double dipped in the linebacker, got another defensive tackle, the spine. But here's a glaring need that you also didn't go edge, right? Well, here's something everyone was talking about, them possibly getting at either 39 or maybe 60, or when you guys had those picks. A center. So, I mean, are we all in on Bozeman?
No, Bozeman's gone.
Not Bozeman. Who's the guy? Who's the guy who's moving in?
Austin Corbett is moving from right guard to center. And yes, it sounds like the front office is all in on Corbett, which I feel like isn't the best idea with him coming off a back-to-back season-ending injuries. I like him. He's really good at guard when he's played for us. But I would have liked to get a center, especially with Zach Frazier sitting there for a while.
Yes, a while. I mean,
he's a
Austin,
stud.
I think you trade back and then Raiders get Powers Johnson, which was a good move. I like the Raiders has some pretty good solid picks. But yeah, like, I was really surprised by that. Even if he unless there's a guy they have, free agency wise they might be interested in, but like they're really just going with the guys that are already in this room. What did Ron Rivera's favorite phrase is? We have everything we need in this room. I'm like, I don't think we do.
We don't. I
don't think we do. So yeah, that's rough. And an edge rusher as well. Like, I mean, obviously you got Jadeveon Clowney in free agency, unless you guys are going to kind of go some like 1-year deal guys, a little bit older who just wants a chance to make a bigger contract or just go contract to contract, make some money. You got that opportunity because I mean, there's always those guys right at training camp you could sign, but with the Panthers being the roster they have, like I don't know, they're not let me sign a 1-year deal and compete type thing. It's going to have to be like a hometown guy like Jadeveon Clowney, and hopefully he's interested in the project to get a couple bucks. Maybe we'll pay you a little bit extra that we can, but that's interesting as well. You guys didn't go immediate rush edge, even though I mean edge market is not super deep as well this draft. Like it wasn't deep in a lot of positions that wasn't offensive tackle or wide receiver.
Yeah. And like I said, we didn't have enough picks to address every need. Like,
yeah,
we only had, I want to say 7 picks going into the draft, and only 3 of them were top 101 picks. But 4, I lied. 33, 39, 66, and 101. So not a lot of premium draft capital and a ton of holes to fill.
Yeah.
Not where you want to be.
What's up, Eddie? What are you brun about? Yeah, I get you. It's a lot. Like I said, I mean, Commanders the same way. Like I think we had a lot of holes that we needed to fill, and I think we did pretty solidly. And we'll talk about that shortly. But Jonathan, give me your reaction. Are you more excited about the team now post draft, or how's your feelings about your team?
I think Michael Scott said it best. Okay. I am ready to get hurt again. That's how I feel about this Panthers team. I mean, I'm excited for pieces. Like, I really want to see what this offense can do with Canales in a town, what Bryce can do in his second year with a real coaching staff that's not fighting each other over who's in charge.
Yeah.
With some hopefully competent wide receiver play around him with an improved offensive line. If everybody's healthy, I would have really liked to have signed Mekhi Becton, who just signed with the Eagles today as a swing tackle, or possibly somebody who could push Icky at left tackle. But it should definitely be better than it was last year.
Yeah.
Which isn't saying much, but small improvements are still improvements.